Hi there, my name is Jack Poplenski, and in partnership with Careers, I founded Alberta Students in Technology, pronounced ASIT. During this program, I mentored 4 high school students in developing a software application, and now I'll let them show you what they built.
My name is Peter, and I'll be presenting the actual website, and it is called YYC Tech. What it is, it's basically a collaborative calendar for Calgary's tech community. How it works is by clicking on this button right here, you sign Eventbrite. And what the program does is it takes after you sign it takes all your events from Eventbrite and it combines them to this one, it aggregates all your events into one collective calendar. So let me show you what it looks like after you actually do that. So once you successfully sign into Eventbrite, to this website, and after clicking the button, here is your calendar. So the problem we're trying to solve here comes with the fact that everyone always has their own individual calendars, but either never easily accessible by other people. There are things missing from one that are present in another, or if there is a collaborative one, it is hard to find or access. So with this, if there is a fundraiser or a dinner happening for the Calgary tech community, it is easily findable here. You can print it, you can add it to your calendar, or switch the views.
Howdy, I'm Kevin, and I worked on adding the Eventbrite events to the Google Calendar on the webpage. To complete this task, I used the Flask module from Python, and I also used the Google API to host the events using the Eventbrite API. I learned quite a bit from this experience, actually, and especially with the APIs that we used. One thing I learned about was the use of tokens. When we're using the Eventbrite API, we had to create a token to get our thing started. I have to admit, I struggled quite a bit with the task, but it was mainly my main struggle was taking the events from the Eventbrite and turning them into Google events. To solve this, Rumiza aided me in creating an array to organize and list the event names, dates, times, and locations, and then convert that into Google names, dates, times, and locations.
Hey, I'm Rameza, and I worked on developing the backend and connecting it to the React frontend. Originally, the app was meant to have a full JavaScript tech stack, which basically meant that the front end and backend were to be coded in JavaScript. But after some group discussion, we decided on using Python's Flask library to handle the backend instead. The main APIs that we used were the Eventbrite API and the Google Calendar API. Authentication was handled through the Eventbrite API, and once a user was authenticated, their authentication generated token was then used to access their Eventbrite events. These events were then filtered by Kevin so they could be used by the Calendar API to add them to our calendar. Initially, I had added an OAuth consent screen to the Calendar API, but then learned about a service account credential, which basically meant that I could integrate the API without needing a user to authenticate themselves with their Google account. This addition made the overall flow from the login to the calendar page much cleaner. I connected the backend and frontend by first ejecting the frontend and then configuring it so it builds to the static directory found in the backend, where the HTML file could then be rendered in each root of the web app. Before developing this app, I had little knowledge on web development, but now I feel confident enough to go ahead and make my own web projects. I'm really proud of the product that my team created and grateful for the mentorship that Jack provided through the program.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah, and I developed the welcome page and created the theme for the app. I used React and JavaScript in combination with Material UI, and while implementing these technologies, I learned about JavaScript, components, web development, CSS, HTML, and how the React framework allows the use of various libraries such as Material UI and other pre-made React libraries and components to create a beautiful looking and functioning front end. This is the first web app I've ever worked on, and the first time I had worked with React and JavaScript, so I struggled a lot with getting started in React. I also had a difficult time understanding how to format components, but now all of this is like second nature for me. I used Figma to create the theme, which was inspired by YYC Tech and Jack, then implemented by Peter. Overall, I love how it looks and feels. I'm really happy with the general aesthetic and logo theme, as well as the functionality behind what the user sees. And I discovered that I loved being able to write some code and create something that can actually help people in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, so once again, I'm Peter, and as Aaliyah said, I joined her in creating the front end portion of our website, YYC Tech Connect. So my job was to develop the pop-up that appears after successfully signing into Eventbrite and creating the calendar page itself, and lastly, implementing Aaliyah's final theme. So throughout this project, I increased my coding vocabulary as I learned about components such as JavaScript iframes, pre-made components, part of larger libraries, such as the success buttons from Material UI. And as I created the success pop-up, utilizing the pre-made buttons and CSS animation techniques, I learned about new challenges to overcome. For one, adding in pre-made code components unfortunately meant that they were more rigid and took more time to learn how to customize them. Additionally, the connection between the functions of the back end and the look of the front end provided an interesting puzzle as we had to figure out how to load the Google Calendar behind the pop-up. The final task of implementing the theme taught me a lot about the absolute necessity of minimized friendly sizing. And I had to come up with creative ways to bring together the final look using different sizing techniques. Overall, being part of this project wasn't just a great experience to take part of this large and important and day-to-day kind of using project, but I know that going forward, my experience in this endeavor will show up in everything that I do.
Thanks so much for listening to our hopefully first of many ASIT presentations, and stay tuned for more updates after the summer. Thanks.